In a case of cash for keys gone wrong, three squatter tenants moved into a landlord's property and demanded to be paid before they would leave. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over the issue of squatters, and it's also going over the issue of cash for keys. Now, obviously, in some situations, the cash for keys thing is the best way to get a tenant out of your property without having to go through an eviction process, especially in a place like New York or Los Angeles or anywhere where they have extremely strong tenant protections, and the tenants, they can basically stay in your unit for months or in some cases even years on end before they're finally evicted. So what a landlord does in that kind of situation, comes up with a little bit of cash, pays these people to leave, and then hopefully they're able to get their property back. Those tenants are gone and they can get it re-rented. And sometimes it ends up being less expensive and easier for the landlord to do that. But these tenants, right? These squatters in this story, they took advantage of that situation because they knew that, hey, these landlords are paying out. So they are going around, they're scamming landlords using this scheme. And I'm surprised that they got caught. Okay, they actually got caught, and that's a good thing. So, interesting story, and I thought I'd bring it to your attention today. But before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think, okay? Have you ever paid a tenant to leave one of your units, okay? I mean, just a quick question. Have you ever paid a tenant to leave, paid out cash for keys? And if so, how much did you pay? Just leave it down in the comments. I'm curious to see what other people have been going throughout the entire country. I've never done it myself. The best thing I've ever done for a tenant was just told them, listen, I'm not going to file for eviction. I'm not going to come after you for, damages on the place if you just leave. And guess what? They did. And I was good with that. And yeah, I was down a lot of money, but it was easier for me. And I knew I'd never be able to recover the damages and the lost rent anyway. So it worked out good enough, at least, didn't work out the best, but worked out good enough. Anyway, let's get into this article. Now, this is coming from NBCMiami.com, and it says, 3 charged in cash for keys, squatter scheme in plantation, police. Let's get into it. They move into a vacant home with a fake lease from a non-existent landlord, change the locks, and when they are discovered, they move out and hand over the keys in exchange for thousands of dollars they claim to pay for rent and security deposit, investigators said. Angela Pitter, 43, was arrested Thursday, almost a year after police found her and 2 other people living in a house in the 6600 block of Plantation Road in Plantation. At first, she appeared to be an unwitting resident who gave $5,000 for rent and security deposit to a landlord who made off with the money, police said. So yeah, I've covered these squatter tenant stories before, okay? And a few weeks back, and I told you I don't ever believe these people because I've read these stories like this where these people are basically pulling a scam on the landlord. So what the tenants do is they come in, I got cheated by this landlord who pretended like they owned the property. Meanwhile, they are the ones who actually broke into the place and stole the property. They wrote up the lease themselves. And fortunately, in this situation in Florida, they actually figured it out. The police figured it out and have charged these people. I'm glad to hear that's the case because in a lot of these cases, the landlord is forced to go through eviction proceedings on these people. And, their ultimate goal, of course, is to get that payout so that they, make a little bit of extra cash and obviously to have somewhere to live for free for a while. She claimed she found the house for rent on Craigslist, but investigators said the house had not been posted online until 3 days after she moved in. The house was owned by a bank in New York and managed by a Florida real estate brokerage. So yeah, Very, very common. I've read so many articles where that is the exact story, and I am 90% certain that that happens very rarely. Okay, yeah, it does happen occasionally, but if it was the case, the tenant wouldn't be so reluctant to leave the place, now would they? So this article actually has a video with it, and I'll play part of that video right now.
This is the home on Plantation Road where police say at least 3 squatters pretended they'd been scammed, so the owner will pony up some cash for them to leave. Prosecutors say 43-year-old Angela Pitter said she'd given $5,000 to a landlord who'd made off with her money, claiming she found the house on Craigslist and now had nowhere to go. Her hope, investigators say, is that the homeowner will pay for them to move out. It's called cash for keys, and Pitter allegedly targeted homes owned by banks.
The person that's occupying the property says, I will move, but you have to give me a couple $1,000s.
Melanie Heyer, an experienced realtor in South Florida, says she's had to deal with similar cases.
Not only are they doing a crime, they know that they have no right, no authority to be in the property. They're trying to milk every single second of it until the last moment.
Here's what she says you need to watch out for.
If you do have a vacant home, try and put some sort of video camera surveillance on that home, any type of security system. Talk to neighbors and let them know, hey, my house is going to be vacant. If you see anything suspicious, this is my phone number. Please let me know.
All right, you saw the video. Wild story, but I'm glad to hear that charges are being filed against these people. But let's continue. While detectives were following paper trails, fake names, and false leads, the girlfriend of Pitter's ex-husband called them to say Pitter is one of several people who do this for a living. According to the arrest report, the woman said Pitter and her co-conspirators will occupy vacant homes owned by banks and make a deal to vacate the home if the bank reimburses them for their monetary loss. Some lenders ultimately hand over the cash for keys, while others pursue the lengthier eviction route. Pitter was given $3,000 as reimbursement toward the $5,000 rent and security deposit she claimed she paid for the plantation house, the report stated. One of the people living in the plantation home with Pitter was 45-year-old Rodney Robillard, police said. And they have pictures of these scammers. And I'm going to put them up on screen because I like to warn landlords, hey, don't rent to these people, okay? This is what scumbags look like. So investigators learned he has done the same thing before with houses and apartments in Tamarack, Lauderdale Lakes, Lauderhill, and Sunrise, court records show. Like I said, these scammers, they know the game. Okay, they've been playing it for a long time. This is not new to them. There's no coincidence when these things happen. And my suggestion is that, landlords in these situations where the tenant says that they were rented the place, all that, it might be better just to go ahead and try to evict them if you are in a more landlord-friendly place, because you'll be able to get them out quickly and not have to pay out thousands of dollars, okay? Because you're being scammed. Now, these banks who own these properties, they aren't paying as much attention as a small landlord would be if they were going through, all of this. So if a small landlord is going through this, the responses might be a little bit different. In one Tamarack case, a community representative told investigators Robillard was running drugs and prostitution out of a vacant house. A stakeout was conducted and several arrests were made. Robillard was also identified as the account holder for a Ring doorbell camera installed at the plantation house. Robillard, Pitter, and Jamal Long, 38, are all charged with the scheme to defraud, grand theft, and criminal use of personal identification. All have been released from the Broward County Jail on bond, records show. Bad situation for landlords. All I can say for now is, though, watch your back. Watch out for these sort of scams going on. Look out for these squatters, okay? They know how to play the game. You have to be extremely vigilant. Don't leave your property vacant for too long without constantly checking on it, okay? That is one thing that I always do. When I have a vacant home, I'm down there, at least once a week, at least, just to make sure that things aren't going on. If you have the the capabilities, put an alarm system on it. Like I've heard that, if you put one of those Simply Safe alarm systems on your house, all you need is Wi-Fi, and you have at least some sort of basic alarm to let you know, hey, somebody has come into my property while it's vacant, and I need to, get down there and check and see what's going on. Okay. So yeah, there has to be some way that you can monitor your property, make sure that it's okay. And for small landlords, we're going to do a lot better job than one of these banks who owns a property is going to do. But last thing we want to happen is for these squatters and scam artists to end up in our houses.